All right, let's go overseas now because there has been a second assassination attempt on Donald Trump, this time in Florida. We saw this gunman 300 metres away with an AK-47. The former president is not harmed. This is the 58-year-old suspect. His name, Ryan Wesley Routh, and he is in custody right now. Joining me now is former White House Chief of Staff and Bondi Partners consultant Mick Mulvaney. Mick, great to see you once again. This changes the complexion of this election campaign once again. Another defiant Donald Trump pushing for donations at the same time, wanting to tell his supporters that he's safe.
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. This is not nearly as dramatic, obviously, as the assassination attempt, which I guess is 2 months to the day now. But this is fairly serious, especially if it's an indication of things to come. The former president, was very clear today, saying he was not hurt, didn't want anybody to overreact, et cetera, et cetera. But anytime that anybody even gets to point an automatic weapon, or excuse me, a semi-automatic weapon at the president of the United States in this country, it's a fairly big deal. My understanding, Laura, is that there were no shots taken at the president. Again, we're dealing with the fog of war when it comes to information. There were no shots fired at the president. There were shots fired at the probable assailant, and that he fled, and he was then captured on foot or in vehicle later on in the day.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and we will get more details because the difference between this assassination attempt is that this man is still alive. So the FBI can try and glean some more information as to his motivation. But, I mean, this is not a modern phenomena for the United States, but it certainly seems like it comes in an environment of which Donald Trump is a part of. He's both a victim and perpetrator, if you like, of this, this stepping up in rhetoric, the combative nature of politics. How do you reflect on that today, Mick?
It's interesting you mentioned, I hadn't thought about it till you just mentioned it, but I was sitting there asking the question. I'm thinking back to, in my lifetime, we've had a period similar to this, at least measured in the strange metric of presidential assassination attempts. There were 2 attempts on the life of Gerald Ford in a very short period of time. In fact, somebody got a gun within a couple of feet of him back in the mid-1970s. And then just a few years after that, of course, President Reagan was in fact shot in Washington, D.C. So that was 3 attempts in a handful of years. That was calm for a while. But what was happening back in the 70s? We're coming out of the turmoil of Vietnam, Watergate as well. So, yeah, it's been a tumultuous time here. It was a tumultuous time then. It'd be curious to see what the attitude of the electorate is, what the attitude of the candidates are, what the attitude especially of the security, the Secret Service is, because my guess is we're going to start seeing significantly more security around our presidential candidates, and in fact, probably most of our political candidates.
When you were White House Chief of Staff, Mick, of course there is always concerns about any sitting president and the security around him, but what was his attitude towards his own personal security then, and how do you think it may have changed now?
He took it very seriously, and it leads to a good question about this piece of property and where he was today. I'm very familiar with this golf course. This is the Trump golf course in Palm Beach, and I remember playing it with him a dozen times, and there was a couple of holes that are right up against a road. Now, there's a fence in between the golf course and the road, and there's some evergreen shrubbery and so forth, but I remember talking to him and saying, Mr. President, this is awfully close. He says, yeah, we talked about it. Secret Service obviously knew that was a risky part of the golf course. Keep in mind, one of the things the Secret Service liked about Trump playing golf at his own golf courses is that he went back again and again and again, so they had the ability to sort of learn how to secure the area. They knew all the hiding places where attempted assailants can go. That's exactly what happened today. The point that I used to point out to the president, the part of the golf course where we were very close to the road, is exactly where this happened. But it went down in the way the Secret Service would expect, which is they're moving 2 or 3 holes in front of him. They know this is the most dangerous part of the golf course, and that's where they found this particular assailant. So to answer your question, Trump took it very seriously. He was never cavalier about his own security, but we also at the same time knew that the Secret Service knew exactly what was going on at all.
Mick, thanks so much. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Paul.